Hey, what's up everybody, and welcome back to another episode of News Dose, where I give you all of the latest gaming news. And before we get started today, I just want to thank everybody for your support over the last year. We did just hit 10,000 subscribers on YouTube, and it's all thanks to you. I greatly appreciate all of your support, each and every one of you, and just thank you so much. It means the world to me, and I hope to be able to talk about my passion for games for years to come. With that said though, we still do have an episode to go over, and it was a rather eventful weekend for games. A major game division may be up for sale with some massive games and studios included, and we already have a few publishers interested in a buyout, including EA, Activision, 2K, and even Microsoft. Now bear with me, showing interest doesn't necessarily mean it will happen, but we will talk about that here in just a bit. Also, we got some more news on the highly anticipated PlayStation 5, including a new super fast user interface, more games to be announced soon, Sony may be hinting at an expensive price, and even the performance, which has created a bit of a stir in the gaming community. So don't go anywhere just yet, because you're not going to want to miss that. Before we get into all that though, let's go over some of the quick news, and first up we have The Last of Us Part 2, which has hit it out of the park in terms of critical reception, sitting at a sublime 96 overall score on Metacritic, which is just insane considering it has 89 reviews as of this video. I mean, the scores are near perfect, though I'm honestly not too surprised. I know there has been a bit of controversy surrounding The Last of Us Part 2, and I get that, but Naughty Dog does make great games. They always have, and when you look at the animations in The Last of Us Part 2, you know it's going to be a high quality game. I mean, sure, the story may not be for everybody, and even for me, it's a little darker than what I'd want it to, based off the trailers that I've seen at the very least, but I still do expect a really good game when it comes from Naughty Dog, and thankfully it looks like they have done it once again. So if you've been looking forward to The Last of Us Part 2, it looks like you really should ramp up that excitement now. Of course, we don't have to wait too much longer, as it releases in just 4 days on June 19th. The wait is almost over. Also, EA just announced a brand new Star Wars game for 2020. So Battlefront has been around for quite a while, and one of the better parts in Battlefront was the airship-based combat. And I guess EA noticed this and thought, hey, why don't we just make an entire game based around this type of combat? Well, that's exactly what happened, as Star Wars Squadrons was announced today and releases on October 2nd. And one thing that really stands out about Squadrons is that it will be both a competitive multiplayer game as well as single player. Not many games seem to really do that anymore, and that's one thing that the Star Wars community was really upset about when it came to Battlefront. I mean, sure, for a lot of people, it was cool to see a big competitive Star Wars game like that, but for others it seemed like such a wasted opportunity not adding in a single player component, considering Star Wars fans enjoy the story and its world. So of course the community let EA hear about this, and they seem to really have taken this to heart, adding in a single player campaign for Squadrons. Granted, we still do need to see how much effort went into both of these, but that's to be determined later on. EA didn't stop there either though, because one other major criticism with Battlefront was that it had too many microtransactions and loot boxes, and the community absolutely hated this. Well, EA has assured us this time around, Squadrons will not have loot boxes, so that's one less thing for you to worry about. So I'm really liking what I'm hearing here, and it's almost as if EA figured out that they don't have to use predatory business practices to make money off of Star Wars. Maybe Jedi's Fallen Order's success has something to do with that, but yeah, now we just need to see some gameplay. All we have right now is this CG trailer, but luckily we will get our first glimpse of gameplay during the EA Play live stream this Thursday on June 17th. I wasn't really looking all that forward to the EA event, but hey, this might make the show worth it. I will ask you though, are you excited to see some gameplay for Star Wars Squadrons? Let me know in the comments below. In other news, Persona 4 Golden was officially announced for Steam, and guess what? It's pretty much been the best-selling game on Steam since it was announced. Who would have thought one of the best JRPGs to ever be made would do extraordinarily well as a multi-platform game? It's almost amusing that this didn't happen years ago, but Atlas has always been kind of strange when it comes to releasing their games. I mean, pretty much the entire Persona franchise has released exclusively for PlayStation, and hey, maybe there is some kind of deal in place that won't allow these games to come to other devices. But then you have something like Persona Q, which released exclusively for Nintendo. I mean, that game was a spin-off to Persona 4, so you would think that that would have been available on PlayStation as well, but it wasn't for some reason. And even now, it's really cool to see Persona 4 Golden come to Steam, but why didn't it also come to other devices such as the PlayStation 4, Switch, and Xbox? Now, hopefully it still does, but to me, it's still odd to see Persona 4 Golden, which is a Vita title, skip platforms such as the PlayStation 4. Surely Atlas could sell a ton of copies on the PlayStation 4, and then the Switch is huge for JRPGs, and I think it could do well on Xbox Game Pass too. So yeah, I'm super happy about Persona 4 Golden coming over to Steam, but I don't want it to stop there either. I want everybody to be able to experience this game because it truly is amazing. Nonetheless, go over to Steam and get yourself a copy of Persona 4 Golden if you're even slightly interested. It is a great game, I can assure you. Moving on, we have an interesting development with the Xbox Series. No, not the Series X, but rather just Xbox Series. So a new trademark for Xbox Series just popped up online this weekend, which has led to a lot of speculation on why now. Of course, it's been highly rumored that Xbox is working on a cheaper, more affordable Xbox, codenamed Lockhart. Lockhart will sacrifice power to be more affordable for the everyday customer, but for whatever reason, they still have yet to announce this cheaper, more affordable Xbox. So maybe, just maybe this trademark means something after all. Could Microsoft be planning on an Xbox Series S announcement for the month of June? Now, we do know that Xbox will have monthly announcements. That's nothing new, they have already said this, but it was rumored that the June event would be pushed back to August, or it got swapped with the August announcement, but that's not necessarily confirmed. And that's the thing, PlayStation just announced the PlayStation 5 as well as the digital PlayStation 5, which of course will be a bit cheaper. Though I do imagine that Xbox Lockhart will be a bit more of a dramatic drop in price compared to the Series X because it is sacrificing power as well, and not just a Blu-ray drive like the digital PlayStation 5, which will likely cut the price by $50. So I do imagine Lockhart being much more than a $50 drop in price, but we will have to wait and see official details first. Now, when will they announce it though? That is the question. But because of this new trademark, Microsoft may end up showing it this month in response to the digital PlayStation 5. They're going to want to show people that they too have multiple console options next generation to reach every possible customer. With that said, even if they do finally announce Project Lockhart, I'm still not really convinced that they will reveal the price. This whole cat and mouse game with Sony and Microsoft is almost amusing by this point, as neither really wants to be the first to reveal the price. And speaking of price, Sony seems to be kind of emphasizing that the PlayStation 5 will be rather expensive. In fact, PlayStation boss Jim Ryan used that exact word, emphasize, and this is what he had to say. Conventional wisdom and history show that our business is one of the more recession-proof businesses, but I think this will sharpen our need to ensure that we focus on getting the value equation right, and I emphasize value as opposed to price. And there it is. Jim Ryan once again is emphasizing value over price, hence it's likely going to be expensive. Now the question is, just how expensive will the PlayStation 5 be? There is a rumor going around right now because of some price listings that it could end up being around $700, but I do not believe that rumor. I still do believe that the PlayStation 5 will ultimately be $500, and I think that's a fine price for the amount of technology you're getting. We do have to remember that these upcoming consoles are state-of-the-art machines, and we do know that the cost of the parts for the PlayStation 5 is $450, not including the manufacturing and all the other stuff. So if they want to profit or break even, then a $500 price tag is fair. Now, I understand that PlayStation fans have been spoiled this generation with the expectation of a $400 price tag, but to be fair, I think that the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X does include a lot more day one than what we got with the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4. Now, those have been great machines and everything, but I do think that the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X is much more future-proof than what we had this generation. So yeah, I'm sticking with that $500 price tag, but I will ask you, what do you think the price will be for the PlayStation 5? Let me know in the comments below. Now, there was a few other PlayStation 5 details over the weekend, including a new user interface which will apparently boot up in milliseconds. That's really good to hear considering the UI on the PlayStation 4 can be rather sluggish. I mean, I don't think it's bad or anything, but it is using an old, slow mechanical hard drive compared to the PlayStation 5's solid-state drive. So it is rather expected to see a huge decrease in load times there, though they did say that the UI was getting a complete overhaul. So I would expect the UI to look a lot different than what it does currently on the PlayStation 4. I don't know if that's good or not until we see it, of course. Also, the PlayStation 5 event did happen last week, and we did talk about that extensively on the last few episodes of News Dose. And yeah, they announced a lot of games there, but we have two different developments here. So Digital Foundry did a performance test on several of the games showcased at the PlayStation 5 event, which has caused a bit of a stir among the game community. So apparently out of the 13 games that Digital Foundry analyzed, 8 of them was running at just 30 frames per second, while only 5 was running at 60 frames. As you see here, Demon's Souls, Ratchet & Clank, and Horizon Zero Dawn all sit at just 30 frames per second, though Demon's Souls may offer a 60 frames per second mode. This has yet to be confirmed, but this is not exactly what fans were wanting to hear. I think one of the big draw points for next generation is a much better processor, and many are hoping for 60 frames to be the new standard in video games. Though that is the thing, it's still up to the developers, and if they get too crazy on the special effects or graphical options like ray tracing, which has a huge impact on frame rate, then yeah, it's very possible that we will still be stuck with 30 frames per second. That's why I'm not really too surprised with Ratchet & Clank running at 30 frames, because there was a lot happening on screen there. We also saw this last month with Assassin's Creed Valhalla as well on the Series X. But before we get too crazy over the performance on the PlayStation 5 here, I do want to point out that these are early generation games. Early generation games are hardly ever graphical showcases, and that does usually take a few years, so maybe if we are lucky, that coveted 60 frames will be the new standard as time goes on. We can only hope, right? Now with that said, Sony is hinting that they will have more games to show throughout the rest of the year, so if you thought that event for the PlayStation 5 was the only event for PlayStation, you'll probably be wrong. They probably will have more games to show throughout the year. Now, whether these are going to be big first-party games or big third-party games, that's to remain to be seen, but it does sound like they have more to announce, so stay tuned for more PlayStation 5 games in the future. Now, the last thing I want to talk about, and I'll make this one quick, but AT&T is apparently looking to sell the Warner Brothers game division. This includes a lot as well. I mean, if they do end up selling, whoever buys would get NetherRealms, the developers behind Mortal Kombat, the Batman IP, Harry Potter, Game of Thrones, the LEGO franchise, among several others, along with all of their studios. This would be absolutely huge for whoever buys it, and that actually might end up being an understatement, and I have no idea why AT&T even wants to sell. Well, there are already a few publishers interested though, including Activision, EA, and Take-Two. All of these were specifically mentioned in the article, and then apparently Microsoft is looking into it as well and seeing if it's worth it. They do have a lot of money and have acquired quite a few studios over the last few years, so maybe they jump into the bidding war as well. Now, who knows, maybe AT&T doesn't sell, but right now the price looks to be around $4 billion. And I would not be surprised if that number goes up as these publishers start to get into a bidding war. I will ask you though, if anybody acquires the Warner Brothers game division, who would you want it to be? Let me know in the comments below. Anyways though, that's it for this episode, but if you liked the video, don't forget to bell notification and subscribe button for more content just like this. Peace out.